Today's comedy flicks could learn a thing or two from Marvel, cause this film is fucking hilarious. Gunn did a grand slam home run with the original Guardians of the Galaxy. That superb origin story captivated hundreds of millions around the world with its irreverent humor, tightly woven plot, memorable characters with dangerously infectious chemistry, and a new high in visual splendor. Topping that off would be harder than climbing the K2 mountain. In this film, James Gunn doubled down on the humor, the character development, and the savory eye candy. Unfortunately, the narrative suffered a bit this time around, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is still a roaring good time at the multiplex. So Peter Quill, Drax, Gamora, Rocket, and Baby Groot are hired by an alien race called the Sovereign to protect some valuable batteries against an invading interdimensional space monster in exchange for Gamora's evil estranged sister, Nebula. When Rocket steals the batteries like an idiot, the Sovereign dispatch an army of drones to destroy the Guardian's ship. The ship is forced to make a crash landing as the drones are destroyed by a mysterious man named Ego who reveals himself to be Quill's father. As Quill, Gamora, and Drax are invited to Ego's home planet, Rocket and Baby Groot stay behind to fix the ship and keep an eye on Nebula. Meanwhile, the Sovereign High Priestess Aisha hires Quill's foster father Yondu and his men to capture the Guardians. Yondu's reluctant to track down Quill, so Taserface leads a mutiny and imprisons Yondu, Rocket, and Baby Groot while Nebula sets off to kill her sister. As expected, this film is a splendiferous visual treat. The eye candy on screen is so succulently sweet that not getting diabetes from merely looking at it was kind of perplexing to me. The bright color palette used for Ego's world is just mesmerizing. The grandeur of it all can be compared to the images seen from a positive psychedelic trip. Of course, it would be of utmost disgrace if I did not give my kudos to the brilliant action set pieces. The opening and ending action sequences in particular were grand in entertainment value, visual splendor, and scale, encapsulating the greater aspects of superhero flicks as well as the blessing of being born in a technologically advanced era. Guys, this film is a laugh fest. I'm gonna be quite honest with you, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has generated more laughs out of me than the wide majority of comedy flicks I've seen over the past few years. And while not as satirical and uninhibited as Deadpool, it still gets the job done well. James Gunn maintains an irreverent tone throughout and laces the dialogues with witticisms and some innuendos here and there. As I expected, Drax is the heftiest of comedic purveyors in the film, though there is plenty of fun to be attained from the antics of Rocket, Baby Groot, and Yondu. With the use of irreverent humor comes the risk of jokes overstaying their welcome or not landing with their intended force. And while a couple of jokes persisted a bit longer than they needed to, a bigger issue for me was the occasional insertion of a joke at the wrong time, particularly at moments of seriousness. With the film being so proud of its irreverence, you'd think that emotions and character development would probably take a backseat to the humor and visual spectacle, right? Wrong. This film's got heart. Just like Joss Whedon did in Avengers Age of Ultron, James Gunn takes on the daunting and frankly nightmarish task of having to juggle multiple character arcs. The story mainly revolves around the themes of family and identity. Now, the center of that would be Quill and Ego's arc, but thankfully the rest of the characters get a chance to shine as well. In this film, viewers learn of some truth that explained actions undertaken by characters in the first film. The arc of Nebula and Gamora's dysfunctional relationship as sisters evolves quite nicely, and Drax forms a likely kinship with Mantis. But undoubtedly, the greatest of all the character arcs was Yondu's. Not only does his development as a character tie in closely with Rocket, the man he becomes as the pieces finally come together is just nothing short of moving. You need to have a heart of stone to not choke up at the ending, let me just say that. Now for a few honest criticism. Quill and Ego's relationship is supposedly the center of the story, and it relies a lot on exposition, which is kind of understandable seeing as how Ego was introduced into this film and he's got a lot of explaining to do. But this focal point of the story wasn't as moving as it could have been. I'm not saying that it isn't engaging or emotionally moving, because it kind of is, but it didn't really resonate on an emotional level as some of the other character arcs. But my biggest criticism is that the plot felt kind of disjointed at times, as if I was watching two different films. In my opinion, the role of the Sovereign in this film kind of led to its disjointed feel, because I felt that their purpose was simply chasing down the Guardians because of Rocket's idiotic move of stealing the batteries, which did turn out to be convenient later on. The final action sequence involves fighting off their drones, and it coincides with Quill and Ego's story, and it didn't really gel. I think the Sovereign's only relevance to the main storyline was their leader Aisha hiring Yondu, who we all know was Quill's foster father. Well, that and the batteries near the end. But thankfully the film gave the rest of the characters a purpose and set them up for future installments, though Drax and Mantis were the least humanized and Drax was reduced to mere comic relief. Which isn't all too surprising with a slightly overstuffed film trying to give every character a chance to shine. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is monstrously entertaining, gut-bustingly funny, well-acted, visually groundbreaking, and emotionally moving. The narrative could have been more focused and some of the jokes could have been timed better, but I still highly recommend this film. And I, for one, can't wait to see this lovable ensemble again whenever that may be. So I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 an 8. Sorry, Jeremy Jahns, you're usually spot on about a lot of films, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You definitely don't need alcohol to enjoy this film. So these were my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. What did you think of the film? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what I do, give me a like, hit that big subscribe button, stay tuned, and I will see you on the next one.